Hello and welcome. I'm Claire the Oily Witch, and I wanted to do this interview with Larry. Larry and I met each other at the recent What the Truth Festival up in the Lake District on the bank holiday weekend, and Larry gave me his book, which he's got pictured here, Give Your Head a Wobble. And when I started talking to Larry, we subsequently had a Zoom call because I found what he was saying so interesting. I realized that I wanted to share it with you and that I wouldn't be able to explain it clearly enough myself. So it was better to get Larry to explain it to you. So, Larry, do tell us, when did this journey start?
Realistically, um, I guess when I was a child, I was fascinated with I'm dyslexic, so I was fascinated with we had the Encyclopedia Britannica with 24 volumes of it. And the first 23 didn't interest me because they were full of words. But the last volume was full of maps. And I just spent hours and hours and hours just looking at the map, looking at England, looking at Great Britain, British Isles. And I just found it fascinating, really. And then in 2022, um, I met some people stand at the park, and someone invited me up to Berwick upon Tweed, which is a star fort, and they were looking for energies and things like that, and just looking at the star fort in general. And so there was a big interest in Tartaria back then, so there was like a lot of channels going. These buildings are older.
Let me ask you to explain what a star fort is.
Okay, so a star fort is a bastion fort, allegedly designed by Leonardo da Vinci, allegedly, very allegedly. They're supposed to be impregnable defenses systems. So if you imagine a castle with like a tower at four corners, well, instead of having sort of round towers, they had basically it's a pentagon on each tower would be a pentagon, and so these are then there's no hiding place. You can't hide. There's no blind spot. Um, and so we're told that they're impregnable defense systems. And so they're not all square. They're not all round. They're generally geometrical shapes. So a pentagon, a hexagon, septagon. As many as you want. I mean, um, Nicosia in Cyprus is a 13 point star fort with bastions. So you've got 13 bastions, 13 pentagons on each, on equally spaced around. So they're very symmetrical, and the center is in the center of it. I mean, you can point through the pentagon and get back to the center. Um, so we went to Berwick. Is that okay with an explanation?
Yeah,
Roughly?
no, I think
Yeah.
it's fascinating. Well, as soon as you
Yeah.
said the Pentagon, I thought of the Pentagon in
Yeah.
America. I just thought,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Pentagon shape, no space to hide, very interesting, sacred geometry. Anyway, carry
Yeah.
on.
They're not equilateral pentagons or anything, but they are pentagons if you go and look at them. And so at Berwick, um, on the first day, I got up early, nobody else was up, so I went for a walk around the wall. Um, and basically, they have a little window at the back of the pentagon that's sort of parallel to the wall, and they tell you that these are for secret guns because they're telling you that this bastion, the tower, as it were, is impregnable. And then they're saying, well, if they get past all this impregnable defense, there's a cannon at the back that points parallel to the wall. And I just looked at it and I just thought, well, the only thing you're going to hit, if you fire that cannon, the only thing you hit is the next bastion because it's straight down the wall. And I'm looking at them, and they weren't windows. They were sluice. They were a sluice gate basically. It's for water to flow through. Um, and then I noticed that in the distance there's another wall in front of us, outside the wall, and so this wall then becomes a retaining wall, and the area between the main fort and this outer wall is a reservoir, and basically, so it's all to do with water. Um, and we know now, water is so much more than just H2O.
Yeah.
Um, it's but so what? so what's happening is that the bastions are actually pumping the water out into, and they're actually mixing up um, and storing, I don't know, chemical energy, uh, actual energy itself is in the water, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm looking at this star fort, and I just realised that the whole of what we're being told is just basically a lie. It's his story, not history, but his story. And these things are all over the world, everywhere. Antwerp's got an interesting series of them, and they're all 2 kilometers apart, and but they spiral out of Antwerp, and they're in a spiral. So that they're all connected with canals as well. So the water's being pumped around the system. So it's all very interesting. We haven't really got a full understanding of this. I mean, someone has, I'm sure, somewhere, but we haven't. It's kept from us. So I was into stars. I was looking at star forts, um, and so I'm looking at these, and then I have a little YouTube channel which I called Our Story. It's Our Dash Story 7721, which is just the number that YouTube give it. But it's basically then I thought we need to sort of like have some sort of balance here. We need to have some redress against his story. We need our story. And so I was looking at various things as I'm going along. The house that we live in has evidence of it's been altered, and nobody knows. Nobody can tell me when. It the alterations predate the official build date. Let's put it that way. This building has been repurposed. The floor has been raised a foot and a half, 45 centimeters, and it's basically the ground floor level that I'm sitting on now is at street level. So if you think the ground floor was actually a foot and a half below street level, and you start thinking, well, that's a bit odd. And the whole thing the whole history of our house falls apart. And then I look outside, and this is covered in my book. It's also covered on my channel. And I start looking at there's a railway viaduct at the end of the road, but the arch at the end of our road is all the arches are like perpendicular to the actual viaduct itself, except the one at the end of our road, which is at a slight angle. And well, why is it an angle? And nobody can tell you because it's just how it is. It doesn't. It lines up with our road, but it doesn't line up with any road on the other side. And there's just anomalies all over the place. And then I was watching a channel. It was Paul Cook who looked at a lot of Tartaria stuff at the time, and he put up an image of the White Cliffs of Dover, which is near where he lived, and says basically it's all blockwork. The giant bricks, and there's flying buttresses holding this brick wall up, this giant wall, and I thought, and just instantly I saw that, and I thought, well, if it's man-made, if this cliff is actually not geological, but it's man-made by design, there must be a design. And surely with if we got Google Maps out and put it on the satellite view, which is just photo composite of aerial photography, but if we put that up, we should surely be able to see some sort of plan to it. And I put this out on my channel. So this was like November, the end of November 22. And a guy came back to me and basically said, have you heard of Graham K. Griffiths and his book? And I actually haven't got an image of that to show you, but I have got one here. And this is, if I get this right, it's disappearing. I'm disappearing. I hold
Well, we
this.
can put it, if you send me the link, we can put
Yeah.
it in
Okay.
the
So
video.
yeah.
So Graham K. Griffiths.
So Graham K. Griffiths wrote a book in 2002, 2003, 2004. It was published, I think. 10 years of research into it. But basically, in his youth, he looked at maps as well, and he was triggered by he visited Glastonbury, and he was triggered by a book by Mary Kane the Glastonbury Zodiac, which was based upon work. Sorry, no, yes, Mary Cain's book, and that was based upon Catherine Maltwood. Now, Catherine Maltwood, back in 1925, it's a long story. This
It's
Catherine
really interesting.
Catherine Maltwood, back in 1925, so 100 years ago, discovers that there's a zodiac in the landscape. And she discovers this because she's actually an illustrator, and she's been asked to illustrate a Arthurian text, a King Arthur story held by Glastonbury Abbey. And she realizes that it's describing it's being played out in the landscape around Glastonbury. So she starts trying to identify where these places are, really. And she then finds that the landscape of Glastonbury ends up being this giant zodiac, and it's 12 miles wide. She finds Gemini, and then she finds Leo, and she's having a discussion with a friend, and the friend she didn't realize that there were Gemini and Leo. She doesn't realize the Gemini and Leo, and so she just turn that phone off. They have a discussion, and basically they attribute the name Gemini, Leo, and then if you've got two zodiacs, if you've got two symbols, you can naturally assume the order of what's to follow and what's behind, and sort of you end up she sort of positioned roughly where they were, and then found them in the landscape. I mean, it's slightly out of sequence. You'll probably realise that Gemini is actually Cancer is actually an arc just by my head there. It's a boat, and Gemini is in the boat.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Gemini's sort of with his arm above his head like that. But it's the arc. So Cancer is the arc.
Which is interesting because Cancer is the mother sign. So it's kind of holds, it's the nurturing mother.
Right. So this could be then. Yeah, that fits in very nicely with where I'm going to go with then. So she finds this zodiac, and Catherine Maltwood then finds one. So Catherine Maltwood comes along. So that was 1925. Mary Cain came along in the sort of mid to late 60s, and sort of looks at it and finds it fascinating. She's an artist as well, and she discovers a zodiac in Kingston upon Thames.
Okay, London. Well, London now.
Yeah. I'm not sure I've got a picture of that one to hand. But anyway, so it turns out the map to the other side of me here, obviously, is England and Wales. And this is about 30 to 40, I think there's 40 marked zodiacs on this map. There are, in fact, 90 throughout the British Isles, wow, different areas, and they've all got landscape zodiacs.
And when you say landscape zodiacs, just for everyone's understanding, you're talking about the fact that the topography of the land,
it's all in the topography,
being created into the zodiac signs. Are
yeah,
there 12 of these signs?
Yes. So in Catherine Maltwood's here, the Glastonbury one, there are 12 signs. There's then a 13th sign outside, which is just behind my shoulder. You can see the tail end of him. That's Canis Major, which most zodiacs then have a guardian. They call it kind of the guardian of the zodiac.
Yeah. And that's the Canis Major would be like the major dog.
Yes. So it's sort of like a protector of the zodiac. And they all have, generally, they have an additional one or two.
Is it like a wolf, would you say? Because then you've got the wolf that guards the Torah and the three-headed wolf that
it does actually within the
priestess.
Glastonbury one. Yeah, it definitely looks, I would say, more like a wolf. Yeah.
And then you've got Romulus and Remus in Rome. I'm just thinking about the, yeah.
Which would then sort of like, is that Gemini? Is that the twins of Gemini?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Glastonbury zodiac, we've only got Gemini is the singular. I think there are two fish. So the Pisces is two fish. Um, so Graham um, is triggered by Catherine Maltwood's work because in the landscape of the British
And he
Isles,
wrote his book in 2000, 2002 to 2004. So
yeah,
this is the sequence of events. He writes his
yes.
book about.
So he goes to Glastonbury 1990, realizes that in the British Isles, um, there are several faces. So if I go this way, so we've got a face here on East Anglia,
Yep.
and we've got a face over North Wales, Anglesey, and we've got the Beast at South Wales, and then we've got a fishy tail at Land's End. So he saw those as a child back in like 1961, 62. He got given the Reader's Digest and atlas of the world. It's very popular back then, apparently. I know a couple of people that have it. I picked one up for about £3 on the internet last week or a couple of weeks back. Uh, they're absolute. It's sort of A3 size. Fantastic maps inside. They weren't quite the maps that I remember from my youth because obviously I was an Encyclopedia Britannica map, slightly different, but they're all basically the same. So he recognises the face of Anglesey as Virgo with the outstretched arm. So that way, we go the right way. No, I'm going that way. If I get this right. So this outstretched. So this then is Virgo with the head is Anglesey. The Llyn Peninsula is her arm pointing out. And so this is over then on this one is over here. Yeah. We've got Virgo at the North Wales. Leo becomes South Wales, which then puts you at Pisces for.
Well, Leo, South Wales, isn't this Welsh thing a lion?
Yeah, well, dragon, aren't they? But yes, there is a rampant lion as well.
Mm.
A beast of some description. I mean, it does, if you go that way. Is that a lion or is it a dragon? It's very similar to the Welsh dragon, indeed. There's a lot of sort of repurposing of images.
Which the
Uh,
people have repurposed history through
Absolutely.
what we know throughout time. Everyone just takes
Yeah.
on, wipes out the civilization before
Yeah.
and recreates on top, you know?
Yeah. So what Graham sort of realizes is, if that's the right one, yeah. So there, the arc. I've drawn the arc in. The arc's actually you have to imagine it as like a crystal arc. In Arthurian myth, Arthur goes to Avalon in a crystal or a glass boat. So the Cancer is, like you say, it's you're saying it's like the mother figure. So if you imagine that then as mother, it's kind of almost like England becomes the mother, the earth almost for this zodiac. So the head on East Anglia is basically then Sagittarius. So it's just the head and the arm because he's in the water with the boat. The figure at the bottom of the boat, the sort of bow wave coming out along that boat, is Capricorn, which is a unicorn with Portland bill. His head sort of like tucked under. Portland bill becomes the horn, and then you've got Pisces, Land's End, and the Glastonbury zodiac then actually forms the eye of this giant Pisces, and so the eye of Pisces is then has this the heavens above reflected in its eye. It's you can see the bringing heaven to earth.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And the third eye, Glastonbury is a very spiritual place, and the third eye is where you see the truth.
Yes, yes, there is a representation of the third eye. We will come to that later, possibly. Uh, right. So then I've added a few more here now. Now this, so all the others were in the water. So Sagittarius is sort of like the figurehead of the ark. He's the captain of the ark. The Capricorn is a goat fish or a unicorn fish. He's got a fishy tail, so he's in the water. Pisces is in the water. All of the bits now I've just added are all the land-based animals. So we have the main one there is Aries, the Lamb of God, which it sort of goes from North Yorkshire, Yorkshire
You
being
point it
owned.
out. Point it out.
Right. So Aries is the big lamb here. Is that's his head. Leeds is on his
Oh
nose.
yeah, 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 I can see it.
York is the eye, and the tail end is right down here.
Hmm.
So it's very big. And then where my finger is now, that's Leo
Yeah, I
at
can
South
see that.
Wales.
Yeah.
And then we've got Virgo um, above that. And then we've got Taurus is Flintshire, coast, North Wales. Then we've got Gemini. Gemini's head is Liverpool. If you go and look at on a map on Liverpool, you'll see that like Birkenhead is basically that's Birkenhead. The Wirral is the fist of the baby. You've then got Seaforth Docks is the eye, and you've got Speak is near the mouth.
So,
Speak's where the airport is in Liverpool. Speak Hall around there.
so they've got their names still.
Yes, yes. The names. There's a lot of names in there. So on Capricorn, we've got Canterbury near near the end. Obviously, the east end of Capricorn is Canterbury, so Cancer is associated with the horse, and then you've got Western Supermare is at the west end of this Supermare, this unicorn.
And that's at the bottom, isn't it? So point out the unicorn for people because
So right,
that's right at the bottom.
yeah. So we've got. Uh, I'll go back to the other one. I'll just show you again on that one. It's a bit clearer on there. So yeah, so his tail is at the far end here. So Canterbury's up here, and Western Supermare is up here. And so if I come down, we've got Portland Bill, Dorchester's probably the eye. You can see his all these are basically marked with rivers and the coastline, and you can see his hoof is marked and his forelegs are sort of like tucked under. But he's also in this depiction, he's sort of like he is the bow wave of the ark as well. So it's a fantastically graphical image if you don't even recognize the symbology of the zodiac in there.
Where's
It,
Cancer?
so Cancer is the ark, but
What, the whole thing?
the whole thing. But you have to. It's a glass ark. So all these land-based zodiac images are all inside the ark.
Animals are inside the ark, weren't
Yeah,
they?
that's it. Yeah,
So you're
this is
saying the
Noah.
outline of Britain is the ark.
It's defined by the animals within it. Really, it's invisible to us. It's a glass ark. It's invisible to us. If you imagined Earth is the arc itself, it's almost invisible to us. You know, everyone says, "Oh, it's flat," and then people go, "Well, no, it's round. It's a ball." And so its true nature, its true nature is invisible to us.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get
Yeah.
it, Larry, because
Um,
the ark. Okay, all right. Getting it.
so Sagittarius then becomes Noah,
Yes,
and
which Sagittarius is Jupiter, is the truth-seeking kind of journeyman.
so I'm going to put my colorized version up.
Oh, good. So where's Sagittarius in all of this?
So Sagittarius is sort of the East Anglia.
Is that the sad face that looks horrified?
It's a bit, yeah. It's the mouth is at Clacton, is clacking, Clacton.
Uh,
Uh, the eye is actually there's a town there called Eye. Uh, there are just so many of these coincidences that once you get past. So if one name was there, if you found one name, that would be an accident. If you get two names, you get a coincidence. When you get three, you get a pattern. When you
yeah.
get four, you get confirmation. So, and there's literally hundreds of places all over the British Isles. Um, so, right down at the bottom, we've got the Isle of Wight, which is Libra, the dove. And so, technically Libra then flies back to Noah's hand, which is where Dover is, or Dover, as my friends like to call it now. So the dove is returning to Noah's hand at Dover.
Right.
Um, and then above Gemini, above there, uh, there's a griffin, which is very popular in Tartaria imagery. But the griffin is actually, I've re-identified that as a Fuchus. Now, Fuchus is the snake bearer, but if you go and look at the actual any star maps or constellation map of the constellation, you get the same overall shape. It is a Fuchus. And then that's confirmed with Ireland because Ireland is Cetus. So we've actually got 14 constellations of the zodiac here. Northern Ireland is Scorpio. It's curled up on itself and its tail hits Porter down, which then, because we're manipulated.
You've got that in black at the top.
Yes, that image, I couldn't draw it. So I borrowed Graham's image of that. Yeah, it's a very, yeah, it's a very strange place. I say that the scorpion curls around the lock in the middle of Northern Ireland there, and it's the sting in the tail lands at Porter Down. And then if you think that our history has been manipulated, we've been manipulated, that the troubles start in Porter Down at the point of the tail of the scorpion. And we have been so manipulated for so long. It's just horrendous, really, when you think about it. And the Lake District, because we haven't covered that, is Aquarius. So he's up right at the top there. This is actually upside down. If you turn it round, you end up with a phoenix in a pyre. And of course, when we met, we were in Cumbria. So we were in Aquarius, dawning of the new era, the new age, the age of enlightenment, I guess we're going to call it. And this is Cumbria, where we were actually stood. So I think it's very significant that we went to the weekend Truth Festival. I mean, I actually attended last year as well, just as a member of the public. But I was fully aware of it back then, and I was trying to tell people, and I only had 6 copies of my book, so I had to, like, who do I give it to? And I gave one to Callie Spell, and she did do an interview with me on her Dark Matters channel. Quite good fun because yeah. Anyway,
So we've got this kind of rising of the phoenix, and then you've done Scotland as well, haven't
well,
you?
I have from here, but there's just 2 constellations I want to include now. Now we mentioned Canis Major
Yes.
as the protector of the zodiac. We've actually got at Galloway, so right at the top here, we've got Orion here. The Galloway Peninsula is it's that I've put the Egyptian one in because most of this ends up being Egyptian. We've got pyramids in there. We've got Urises. Virgo's got a Urius on her head, the snake crown. That's Holy Island on Anglesey. Holyhead, the port, is on the back of the Urius. So that's basically that sort of symbol. I'll do it that way. So that Holyhead, Holy Island, Holyhead's there. It's the Urius crown of Virgo in an Egyptian style. So the Galloway Peninsula is very strange if you look at it geologically, because we've got 2 peninsulas sort of like opposing each other, but they're a perfectly straight line. It's. I'm trying to do this for you, but they're a straight line. So it's actually, we have Orion. We hold it. He has a shield when we draw him. But if you go and look at the Egyptian, he's actually got a scepter, a was scepter, which also becomes key in Scotland. So the was scepter is the symbol that the pharaoh or the deity on earth has to show God that they are the representative of God on earth. They are identified by the scepter. So in the Egyptian astrology, it's the true shepherd of Anu is Orion. So they're next to each other, Canis Major, Orion, very close. So that's maybe why we've gone that way a bit. But I see him as the protector, and then just below there we've got the Isle of Man in the middle.
Right.
And okay, so this is the Isle of Man, overlaid with topography on it. And at the south here, Douglas, we've got all the lines coming out for the ferry. And as a child, I always saw the Isle of Man as a brain. And I've rotated it slightly so you can get that kind of feel into it. Um, and the topography coming up with the pink color for the high, that is the brain. And the ferry lines then are the communication lines, which would be your spinal cord. Now, I was also very aware as a child that this was the same shape as this image.
Hmm.
This is the Sistine Chapel ceiling. In 1990, Frank Meschenberg said that it was basically an
Autonomic.
atomically atomically correct image of a brain. So God there we're seeing is sitting on the pineal gland and is projecting his arm through the third eye. And then I was just looking at this, and coincidentally, then a guy I'd been following who does the origin of the zodiac, which is Hugh Evans, put out a video about the Arwen, which is Cassiopeia in the Welsh star map that he has. Very interesting that as well. But we won't go into that here. So basically, then the Arwen projects out. So this is God's hand projecting his. Arwen is the spirit, the knowledge, the spark of life. It's sort of like everything that's God really is the Arwen. And so we're seeing here now that this is God in a brain, and there's Welsh connections to this as well, because we see the red cloak that he's sat in a choir of angels, which becomes the rest of the brain, and they're sat inside a red cloak, which becomes technically a skull. If you imagine the brain cut down the middle, straight down the middle, this is what you'd see inside. You'd see the skull behind and the brain sat in the cavity there. Now, this is in Welsh, you can call this a coracle. And you're going to call me, but coracle, basically, the way we understand a coracle is a circular frame covered in a sheepskin or a leather, a skin. So, and it forms a boat. And that's the definition of coracle in Welsh. However, Welsh is a wonderful language. It's got so much meaning behind it. The core, coracle is basically circle covered, core oracle. And so core can also mean an assembly or a choir. And I'm thinking, well, that's exactly what it is. He's sat in a choir of angels. This is a core of angels. And the rackle can mean covered, and they're covered with or cloaked. And they're in this red cloak. So this is a cloaked choir of angels. It's a coracle. And that then leads into the Mabinogi and the Welsh mythology as well, behind Gwaun Beck, Taliesin, and Merlin. And then you think, well, hang on, this Merlin. So briefly, Gwaun Beck gets the knowledge of the world from the Arwen, which is a brew that Ceridwen is making, and then ends up being in a coracle, basically, and has to be rescued from the river. So if we look at God here now, we see this old man, we see knowledge. and this is then the whole Mabinogi Guyenbeck story is just, and this is my overlaying the two just to sort of like prove the point, as it were. I had to squish a little bit, but it's basically that's what I'm saying. That's the Isle of Man overlaid on top of the Sistine Chapel image, and the Arwen projecting out is the southern tip of the Isle of Man, and it projects out to where Adam's hand would be, is actually called, it's an island at the tip there, and it's called the Calf of Man. Now, calf is basically means you think of it as a baby. So a baby cow is a calf, a baby whale is a calf. But calf, if the cow is pregnant, then we say it is in calf. And as they give birth, they are calving. So the calf of man, as it is called, is basically what I'm saying is what we call now the birth of man. So on the Sistine Chapel ceiling, we then have the birth of Adam, they call it. But it's the birth of, they're effectively saying it's the birth of man. But there's more stories behind that as well that I cover on my channel.
It's fascinating,
There's
Larry.
just so many layers to everything. It's just unbelievable.
And once you see
I,
it, you can't unsee it because it's as you say, it just keeps on coming and it's
yeah,
everywhere. All of these stories,
yeah,
like you're talking about the Noah's Ark story, and there's like Ark stories across the whole of the world. Every different culture seems to have its own Ark
yeah,
story. It's all symbolic.
yeah. I'll just flash this one up quickly. This is Ayana, Queen of the Heavens in Samaria. Now, Samaria is said to, in the last ice age, we're told, that the people of Europe, i.e., England and Britain, migrated to the Middle East. So Samaria is then, well, this is, to me, that's Virgo and Leo. And it's exactly the same as that image there of Wales.
Mm.
So in Samaria, they are worshipping whales, and then in Graham's, well, in the what I call the Albion Zodiac. And if anybody wants to find anything about and find me, if you just Google Albion Zodiac, you find my channel straight. I'm top of the list at the moment because they haven't realised what all this is about and why it's so key and important. But yeah, so in Samaria, 4,000 years ago, they're worshipping their motherland. They're worshipping Wales. Now, they also have Baal, the bull god, which on the back on here is just tucked behind Virgo. It's Flintshire. So Baal is actually North Wales. And they also have Tammuz, the Lamb of God. Well, that's the rest of Wales is made up from that bit of the tail end of Aries. So it just all like
It all fits together. And
it does. It just
what's
makes so much sense.
and
Uh,
yes, and what I guess what really I'm going to ask you next is this is fascinating. What is the relevance of it?
right. Let me just. I did have a nice picture that I was going to go. Right. So here we have a 3-4-5 triangle, right angle triangle. This is basically the basis of sacred geometry.
Mhm.
Um, we also have the hieroglyph for the throne, Egyptian hieroglyph for throne.
Yep.
So basically, what I'm saying is that is England. The 3-4-5 triangle and the throne, the Egyptian throne, is England. And why did I just had that
But
picture up
you're
there?
saying that, and the relevance of that is the fact that England is a central, important place in the world.
It's basically I'm saying that this design can only be man-made.
Ah.
Um, there's too much intelligence in the design for it to be just a random occurrence.
Mm.
Um, so if you then say that the throne, which I just showed you, is made up of the zodiac, then this is the celestial throne.
Mm.
Most religions have a celestial, they refer to a celestial throne. And if you go into Vatican City, you won't see it because they've locked it away. St. Peter's throne is, as discovered by Napoleon when he sort of went in there and had a poke around, is adorned with images of constellations.
Which doesn't.
So the Pope himself sits on a metaphorically celestial throne.
Yes.
So, and if this is what I say it is, and it's by design, is this then the true Holy Land?
Yes. And we're living on Britain, and why it's such a magical place that
Yeah,
people understand and connect with. There's a lot of magic here. And
yeah.
then just talk us through Scotland at the top, because if
So,
you've got the throne, you've got somebody sitting on there,
yeah. So, I'm not sure I've got the picture up for that. Basically, yeah, we've got a bar bird now because of all the association with Egypt. We have to look at Scotland through Egyptian eyes.
which
And
is
I ended up, and it took me a while to sort of like figure it out. And I don't know whether I figured it out as a child or not. But so where Aberdeen is if I go right up the top there, Aberdeen is up on the tip of the wing, and that area is the wings
well,
of
it is.
this.
It's where the Royal Air Force is.
Oh, there
It's
you
the
go.
Navy or the Air Force are in Aberdeen.
Mm, yeah. So they're earning their wings up on the bar, and the bar, the BAR or BARR, is associated with Scotland. The law, the bar, and there is a connection to that as well. But the BA bar bird, the Egyptian bar bird, is generally only seen when you in the pharaoh's tomb as the pharaoh is sort of having his brain removed or his life force. His life force is carried by the bar bird to the afterlife. But this bar bird is very special. He's holding up the outer Hebrides becomes the head of a was scepter. Although I'm erring more towards like a shaman's staff in like witchcraft we call black magic, voodoo, whatever. But it's more that shape. And I think you should be more, you will be more familiar with this, and maybe can sort of point me in the right direction. And the Isle of Skye then is holding up the was scepter because he has wings and he has two hands. The Isle of Mull is his other, sort of his palm face up hand, and in that hand he's holding a scarab beetle, which is actually a dung beetle. So a dung beetle basically creates life from death. He takes the detritus and creates life from that. And the wasp scepter is then could be viewed as a battle hammer, which is the removal of life. So one strike of that to your temple, and your history, your toast. So, and when we look at the coronation of the monarchs of the United Kingdom, they have an orb, which is, I am saying, an upturned image of the scarab beetle. Or yes, so that's the orb. So that's the giving of life, the orb, and the scepter is the wasp scepter is the battle hammer. So this basically then says the king or the queen, as was. Although we got a queen in charge now, another story. But yeah, so basically the scepter is the removal of your life. The orb is the giver of your life. So he's basically telling you when he gets coronated that he has the power of life and death over you as a British citizen, as one of his dominion. So
British.
it all
It's a
gets very
symbolism,
symbolic.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah, it's a symbolism. Okay.
But the oh, I got that image. Let's try this one. So this is an image of Google Maps with so above here is the sea bed. It's very interesting seabed, and I'll have to gonna find you a picture for this because basically the bar bird is only seen at the time of death or at the tomb of the pharaoh, and so we have to ask ourselves, where is the pharaoh? And if I just have to find this one for you because this is sort of, if you don't see it, you'll basically, right, there we go. Right, so above my head, sort of up there, that's the Faroe Islands. Nothing to do with sheep. We're talking, it's a urius. If you go and look at it, it's actually the snake crown again. It's the urius, and you can see he's then got the crown of Egypt, like Scotland. Scotland had um, so up to John of Groats, you sat on the white crown of Lower Egypt, which is the Hedjet, and then the coastline up the west coastline is the Deshret, the red crown of Upper Egypt. And then one thing that wasn't on the last map there is the Orkney and Shetland Islands form this feather, the feather of justice, the feather, and this is why Scotland is associated with law, because the feather in Egyptian is justice, and they talk about weighing your heart against the feather. But anyway, so off
That's in
here,
tarot. That's in everything.
yeah, yeah. So then
That's
what
Libra.
I'm showing here is I've overlaid an image of a skeleton because that's what I see in the, and I'll just flick it back onto the other one. It says. So I'm pointing to it with the mouse, and you can't see that. So basically, I'm saying in front of where the bar bird is looking towards the head.
And is that the dark bit? Is the skeleton or the raised bit or
Yeah,
what?
it's raised. It is the seabed is raised. Let me just see if I can find the same perspective as the last image as well. Bear with me 1 second.
Sure. And it's funny because Scotland does have, I told you, yeah, links between Egypt and Queen Scotia, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's really fascinating. I mean, so you're saying that, oh yes, you can see it there.
yeah. So
So
you've
yeah,
got
the head of the,
like
yeah,
his skull. If I go the right way with my finger, the skull, and then you've got below that you've got the rib cage,
yeah.
and it's defined in the seabed.
And you
So
think that's a pharaoh that's been buried there?
it's a dead pharaoh, yeah, basically.
It's a dead pharaoh that the bar bird is looking out, looking
So
on
then, yeah,
man-made Britain.
so my current theory is that basically the throne here, the celestial throne, the throne of Egypt, is a monument to this guy that's under the water, and the bar bird is taking his spirit to the other side,
And
and
you
they're all looking west, which they're told to do in death.
and the sun sets in the
In the
west.
west,
Why?
travel towards the setting sun.
To follow the
That's where,
light down into the darkness, so you shall be
yeah,
found and be able to rise again. And so, and you presume this is a man.
yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, the evidence is, I mean, I do show.
What do we all think of that?
If you think history is and our geography is in layers, so at the top we have current history, the most recent things, and then below it's older and older and older. So I'm basically saying that this zodiac is the outline of the British Isles, um, and anything that's on top of it is newer than this outline. So I have a little video, and I included it in a talk. I even went to go and see. There's a skull at St Agnes in Cornwall. St Agnes, Trevanant's Cove, the headland overlooking the cove is a giant skull, and we're talking. So he's 90 meters from here to here, and the rest of the body is there as well. It's hidden under the hill. His backbone forms the coastline there, and it's in situ. You can go and see it. They haven't realized what it is, or they're hoping that we don't realize what it is. And it's this humanoid giant, 600 meters tall.
quite often see that in mountains, don't you? And then you
Yes,
Disney films like Moana, where Mother Nature is an island. She gets up and she's a whole island, and then she lies back down in the sea again. And it's like,
I'm
Pachamama.
I'm not a fan of Disney, but I
Well,
will take your word on it. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Disney either, considering what it did to all the grim fairy
Mm,
tales and the sugar coating and the unrealistic expectations. But Disney quite often I know that Hollywood has to tell us the truth. So quite often the films
absolutely.
that come out
Well,
are based on truth, no matter how
yeah.
far-fetched it seems.
So this is why you have stars in Hollywood, because all religion is based upon the worship of the stars. So
Yes.
they're trying to form the new religion. Hollywood is the religion
Well, it is, isn't it?
for the masses.
Yeah.
That and you are following the stars.
Mm. I
It's
completely and utterly agree with that, Larry. So we've been talking for about 55 minutes. I
yeah.
hope Larry hasn't completely blown your mind to smithereens. I'm sure he hasn't. I'm sure he's opened an extremely interesting cavern within your mind to look at this in a different way. And certainly if Britain, England is this man-made collection of zodiacs, which I think it probably is, then, another opportunity to engage with the magic and the energy that's available to you within this land and to question, why am I living on this land? Because it's a very multicultural place, always has been, always will be. That's something worth considering as well. So, Larry, how can people find out more information about you?
So I have my YouTube channel. The best way to find me is if you search for Albion Zodiac. You're either with or without the space in the middle. Without the space, you'll find me quicker. But yeah, I've got a YouTube channel there. There is references. I do have my book available on eBay. Um, Booked, give your head a wobble. If you look that up, you'll find it. Or there are links on. I generally try and put links in my videos on YouTube. They are also on Rumble because we know that YouTube is censored, and the likelihood is that YouTube will take me down when they realize the significance of what I'm saying. You know, this disproves your history, your education, your geology, um, and your religion as they teach it. I'm not saying that religion is, you know, there's God. We connect to source. We mentioned it just before we started recording. The universe, the one voice. You connect very freely with that. I have to dowse basically um, to connect to it, but we can train ourselves to hear that one voice and and find our truth.
That's brilliant. Yes, Larry is 100% true with that. And yes, Larry, I'm kept small for the same reasons that you might be kept small because it's not in their interest for us
No,
to
no.
share with people how powerful they are and how much exciting stuff is out there for them to understand and disengage from the narrative. So thanks for watching. Please go and check Larry out because he's well worth it and keep an eye on what he's up to. Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.
Thank you.